Hi, and welcome to the small group discussion, or just the questions that you can kind of use for going a bit deeper into what we spoke about today, which really is that faith is alive. And we looked at the story in Matthew 17 and in Mark chapter 9 of the man who comes to bring his son for healing, and he says, the kind of key line there for us is, I believe, but help my unbelief. And I think that's a situation in which we so often find ourselves.
Yeah, I think, that line is such a critical line for any believer's faith journey, is that you bring what you have, like we said in the sermon, and no matter what you bring, God can use it. You don't have to come with your life sorted out. You don't have to come with faith lined up in order to get a reaction from God in short terms. But you can just bring, and ask Him to fill the gap between what you have and what is required. Help my unbelief. That means that there's a gap between how much He has and how much is needed. And Jesus steps into that gap and He fills that gap. And I think that just really changes the game for anyone who's on that faith journey.
Definitely. And I think we sometimes feel like I don't have enough faith. And that I need to have more faith. And that's true. Our faith needs to be alive and it needs to be growing. But we need to just bring whatever faith we have to Jesus and allow Him to work with that. And that's not, sometimes people have this difficulty with, well, I don't have enough faith and that's why the miracle didn't happen. But that's not really the way it works. Is, God works in ways that we don't always understand. And our lack of faith is sometimes not the issue. It's our willingness to come to God with whatever faith we do have.
Yeah, I think for me it's again, like most things in our faith journey, or in our our kind of life as Christians, is that it's all about the heart condition. If you come with a closed heart and a hard heart to God, you're doing the damage, not Jesus or not God. Is he comes with I'm waiting in expectation of you. And if we come with a closed heart, not a doubting heart, and I think there's the distinction. You can have your doubts and your fears and your anxieties and your stresses, but you come with an open heart to God, and you say. And that's what that father did. He came with this open heart of, it's all I have, but you can have it. He didn't come with I'm going to test you and see if you can do what you say you're going to do. That's a negative approach to faith and the faith journey that Jesus calls us to. But when we come, even with our doubts, and we say, even if I'm doubting, I know that you are who you say you are. And my heart is going to connect with you, then Jesus will fill the gap,
I always think of that quote now. Of course, I can't remember who said it, but it says, courage is not the absence of fear, but it's kind of showing up in that fear. It's being willing to stand up and do whatever you need to do despite your fear. And I think the same is true of faith, is that faith is not the absence of doubt. In a way, faith is the willingness to step out and to show up into where God wants us to be, even in spite of our doubts, even in the face of those doubts and those uncertainties, because otherwise it wouldn't be faith. If I was 100% certain, it wouldn't require any faith. And so what's beautiful for me about this passage, like we said in the sermon, is that it's wedged between the transfiguration and Jesus predicting His death and resurrection. And so it points us to why it is that we can have faith, why it is that our faith can be alive, is because we have faith in the glorified Jesus, who is the ultimate power and authority over everything in our lives and in the world. And because we live with that resurrection hope.
Yeah, and I think it boils down to, it's the here and now. It's not the end, but it's we, if you've crossed the line of faith, you've stepped into that salvation. You've stepped into all that Jesus has for us. And within all that Jesus has, as He came down the mountain, and as He has solidified our eternity, all that He has for us doesn't mean that we can just sit back on our laurels and not grow in our faith, and just take that as at face value and go, okay, well, I'm saved, but now the seed is going to die in me.
Yeah.
Ultimately, using our illustration of the mustard seed.
And I guess that's the other thing we spoke about, how faith has to be alive and that it has to have the potential for growth.
Yeah.
Like a little seed has to be planted. And the thing about seeds too is that they have to be planted in the dark, underground. And that's actually where they grow and
where
where
nobody
growth
sees
happens.
it.
Yeah, it's not often visible for a while until those shoots come out, and it's in those dark places in the kind of in a grave where they actually start to grow. And so often the seed of our faith germinates in the places of our deepest darkness.
Yeah, which is a scary thought, because you expect everything to just kind of be grand and great when you come to faith. But faith is, like we said last week, it's hard. It's a day-by-day choice. It's a stepping in to what God is calling you to. And without it being hard, it wouldn't be necessary. You wouldn't need faith if it wasn't hard. But you need the difficulties and sometimes the darkness in order to step into the light. And the tree has to take root in the darkness and then extend itself into the light in order to keep growing. And that part is almost, the seed dying to itself, and saying, in the darkness, I need to die to myself and come to Christ in the darkness of my soul. In order for me to truly live, I need to die. And then the seed comes into the light as it grows. So there's a lot in that.
There's a lot in that. And then, of course, the last thing we spoke about is that faith comes alive when it's put into action. And faith doesn't help us. James says, well, even the demons believe. Like that doesn't really, belief isn't enough. You have to actually put it into action in your life. And that's, I guess, where it gets tough, because it's one thing to say, I have faith. It's another thing to practically live it out and prove that. Yeah.
Well, you got the growth, which in some senses can naturally happen if you're in the dark sense of your soul, and Jesus pulls you out, even if you've made the choice or not. There is a faith element of like, I've crossed the line of faith and Jesus pulled me through this. But when we step into the action, then true growth happens, and the roots go deep into the ground. So it's that understanding of, if you want to go deep into your faith, if you you really want to solidify your faith, you have to step into the action of faith and the deeds of what that requires. So your faith will kind of grow in the growth aspect. In difficult times, you do that 2-second prayer, like we know. Jesus, help me in this prayer. Yes, there's a bit of growth there, but it's not a sustaining growth, and it's not a solidifying growth in the soil. You need to step in and go, I'm going to make faith a priority in my life and step out in every area in order to see the hand of God move and grow my faith.
Yeah. So we hope that you're really encouraged as you are reminded that faith comes alive when we bring it to God, however much we have, and trust Him to do the rest. When we are willing to let our faith grow and to sometimes go through those painful processes of planting those seeds in the soil and in the dark. And then also when we put it into action, when we really let our faith be expressed in the way that we choose to live our lives every day. So may God bless you, and may your faith continue to grow.